All right, so we're going to talk about Chapter 3. Make sure you guys please remember to get your notes ready to go, and so we can refer back to them as needed. Chapter 3 is called The Evolution of a Game. A couple of objectives. These pretty much talks about all gaming, from card games up to ping pong, up to generations 1 through 8. All right, the evolution of all gaming. It says the past 20 years. I would say 25. Just because you guys are a little more involved with these nowadays. Talking about gaining knowledge, the discussion about violence and how it affects gaming is affecting the world. Does it or does it not? Some terminology for communication. Online gaming communities, MMOG, and some terminology such as immersion, cocooning, things like that. All right. Remember, this presentation is available to you. You don't have to worry about copying everything. Feel free to copy as you would like. Now, early play. When you guys were younger, everybody's younger, we learned how to play video games or play games in general. Whether on the playground we do tag, we do anything related to competition. It's just a natural way. So, and we build different developments. Coordination, muscle memory, motor skills, and benefits of play. Like the fun that we get, the immersion. Right? Eventually we get into more involved with hand-eye coordination, and when we do things over and over and over again, it's muscle memory. Generally, if you do something 2,000 times, that's when your muscle memory makes it a reflex. Okay? And also brain extremity pathways, that's where it's connecting from the brain to the movements of your fingers, your feet, your body. All of those are developed in early play, before you even figure out what video games are. Motor skills and socializing. Some people think that video gaming and gaming in general is lack of social skills. This is not true. Because everybody in here generally have a connection. Play video games. Everyone in the class. Everyone involved with gaming. That is a social community. But there's a problem with it sometimes. Sometimes people do cocooning. Cocooning is when you just sit in your room or in an area and you just play and play and play and play, and you kind of disregard society. That is not healthy. Okay, there's got to be a balance. Immersion, socialization, talking about the gaming, and also doing role-playing games together, competition. That's what things that are built. That's a good thing. Cocooning is not so good thing. And it happens, not as much as, that's a negative that doesn't happen as much as the positives of the game. They also have participation with entertainment, toys, dolls, all that stuff helps with entertainment. And we've all, at some point, have played with action figures and dolls and that aisle of the Toys R Us. Now we kind of just move past that and we move on to the video game aisle. Physical competition is a big thing. Now, people say competition is good, some people say competition is bad. In general, it's a great thing because it pushes each other to become better and better and better. You guys agree? Yeah, there will not always be a winner. Some people will lose. But the argument is that helps them become better next time. Very simple. Competition, and we also learn how to play with using rules, not just doing whatever you want in order to win. Following rules is something we learn with competition and a game environment. We are making our own games. We are making our own game environments on the games that we make, but and a game environment that they're talking about with physical competition, and in the early stages, an example would be the basketball court, the soccer field, NASCAR racing track. Those are different examples of gaming environment. Intellectual competition, that's less physical. That's with board games, strategy. Things that are going to push the mind to the limits. We began with checkers. Some of you probably are pretty good at chess, right? Card games. All those are different types of intellectual competition, which is just as important, if not more important, than physical. Both physical competition and intellectual are a great way to live your life. And usually, you make a lot of money. Okay? Give me an example of a basketball player that is really good and probably has a lot of money. Someone raise your hand. LeBron James. Okay. Not my first choice, but I'll go with it. All right. Give me an example, and I'll get to him in a minute. I was thinking Michael Jordan. I'm not going to get into the debate. Okay. But give me a tech guru, a tech entrepreneur that revolutionized. Yeah.
Bill Gates.
Bill Gates. Okay. Both of them very popular. Both of them have billions of dollars to their name at some point. Now, LeBron James and all athletes, their asset is their physical ability, their physical way of doing things. And it's very successful. Hard work, talent, all that. For the entrepreneurs, technology, Bill Gates, you brought up, also Steve Jobs, their talents are more technical, less physical. I'm pretty sure any athlete could take on competition-wise Bill Gates or Steve Jobs on any sport. I guarantee you they would not succeed very well. But here's an issue. Everyone talks about how sporting individuals make a lot of money, and it's too much, and all that, and there's a debate with that, and which is very positive, which is very cool, but eventually their biggest asset starts to fall apart. What is that? What makes them so powerful that eventually dwindles away?
As they get older.
Right, Father Time. Their body starts to just not be able to do what they can do, right? What about Bill Gates? What about Steve Jobs? Are they limited in time like that? Not as much, right? Whatever, LeBron James, Michael Jordan, football players, all the money they make, it's going to go away eventually because of their physical attributes. It's just life. Bill Gates, Steve Jobs took it a different, has talents in other realms, and they're making more money, and they contribute to the world a lot different and longer through their technology by using their brain, using their intelligence. So they have a great career that's not limited to 4, 5, maybe 6, 10, 15 years. Otherwise, the amount of money they're making, the amount of impact they're creating on culture is a lot more powerful. You guys understand? Physical, intellectual, both are great. And intellectual, using your mind, is a lot stronger muscle than pushing with your body. Okay, so just recognize that. I'll talk about pit puzzles, how they have mental advantages, and it's push for problem solving. Puzzles are something that you guys in general and as a person should push to become better at. Just because it's hard doesn't mean you should quit. I know there's the Rubik's Cube. A lot of people use those, and it's a way to be able to solve that problem. And it's really just a complex algorithm in order to get that done. It's very easy to do if you just memorize the algorithm. The problem is people don't want to take the time to memorize the algorithm, but it's something that you can do as a problem solver, as a way to exercise your brain, to become a little bit more intelligent, to be able to solve not just the Rubik's Cube down the road, but other problems for your career. Now, immersion, I know all of us have had that. Immersion is when you're very engaged in the game or the system or the activity that you're involved with. Immersion's awesome. It's when you run out of time and you don't want to run out of time, you just want to stay and keep doing it. We felt that. It's a great thing. All right? Role-playing games are a good example of immersion. One of the first ever role-playing games called Dungeons and Dragons. It's not a video game. People in the 80s spent hours and hours and hours in that game, playing and very immersed. Sometimes they became decentralized from everything else, and they actually thought they were actually really those characters. That's not a good thing. Make sure you guys recognize the difference between reality and virtual reality. That being a player in the game, you should not bring that into the real world. That's where the debate of gaming violence has contributed to the violence we have in today's world. So make sure you guys recognize not to bring in that false avatar, that false character in the real world. That's called desensitized. There's 3 different focus areas when it comes to personal development. There's the behavior, cognitive, and the motor skills, which is the physical. Behavior development is how you react to situations. Playing video games helps the person become better at situational events. Okay? There's the military, there's health. They do simulations or games to help them react to something that happens. He started in World War II. There was a gentleman named Edwin Link. He's considered to be the godfather of simulation. He originally had the idea of giving pilots in World War II different simulators in order for them to prepare themselves for the war. And it made a difference. How you react to situations. Behavioral. Next was cognitive. Intelligence through remembering and problem solving. Learning through the events, the tasks. Motor skills, we brought up a little bit of those earlier. Brain, extremities, reflex, hand-eye coordination. All right. I know some people, it's not that big of a deal now, but maybe about 15 years ago, there was an issue with hands, with our fingers, with diseases, and it comes to, it's one of the negative traits of gaming and being a business person and being on the computer, is something called carpal tunnel syndrome. You guys have heard of that before? It's where your fingers are set at a certain spot at all times, either it's on the keyboard or on a video game console, and your fingers become disjointed, or there's a disease with it, or where your joints just don't really work very well anymore after hundreds and thousands of hours of doing whatever it is you're doing. That's why sometimes when you're typing and your wrists are turned in, they get a little sore. Well, they adjusted to that a little bit. Sometimes there's keyboards that kind of rotate out. They're shifted over about 30 to 40 degrees out, and so your hands would naturally turn. Also, the evolution of game remotes have changed. So it's not this rectangle like the Nintendo. It's more, it has that grip, has a way to, it's curved, it has a way for you to easily press the buttons. So that's how you prevent negatives of gaming, of that disease called carpal tunnel syndrome. Or injury. Believe it or not, you can get injured playing video games. Go to the doctor and say, hey, I'm injured. Oh, how happened to you? I was playing a video game, carpal tunnel syndrome. Early 1947, games were being developed. The first patent was in 47, 48, and the television production was in 66. It's where a player used a light gun to shoot targets in a black background. Number 2, 1984, one of the first 2 games that came out with the NES, which was, what game was that? With Mario Brothers, there was another one. What's the other one? Duck Hunt. It was evolved from the original from 1966. 18 years later. Now, we're going to get into the generations. We're in generation 8-ish. Hasn't been decided yet. Generation 1 is the first series where video games became available to customers. Maybe even the arcade games, that kind of stuff. All right? Generation 2 is where they became a lot more popular. Atari. Atari 2600. Very popular. Generation 3, it improved with graphics and player movement. Alright? Now we get into the good stuff. Generation 4, the NES, the Nintendo Entertainment System. 8 amazing bits of graphics. Wow, 8 bits. In the 90s, Generation 5, they doubled that. 16 bits. That's amazing. That's something that we've never even thought of. We have 16 bits in our house. Of course, nowadays we have thousands. Generation 6 involved with DVDs. I think the PS2 and was the first one with DVD to be able to play DVDs on. Moving on with Generation 7, the Wii, the motion remotes, and what you guys are a part of, which is Generation 8, which has not really been developed yet. We don't know what it is. We are in it. So there's no end result yet. We don't know what's the catalyst of it. It really depends on you guys. You guys are a part of Generation 8. We don't know what it's going to be. Mixed with virtual reality and augmented reality. We don't know what part of the Wii, the Switch that just came out, we don't know what generation that's going to be part of. It might be whatever you guys develop when you get older. Alright, well, we're in there somewhere. This is one of the original games, Pong. This is in the 50s. I think we talked about a few days ago, a little while ago, about game consoles have advantages over each other. And I think we talked about how the Xbox has amazing graphics, Microsoft, amazing graphics, amazing power. And there's a certain game that they have that no one else has. And what game was that? Halo. That's because it's a proprietary game. Only runs with a single console. And that is a great advantage that they have compared to the other the competition with PlayStation, Nintendo, and PCs. Of course, you can have licensing agreements. Other companies create games and they have agreements with multiple game console developers in order for them to be able to make their game available on the console. It's called third-party licensing. For example, EA Sports, it's in the game. They are a third party. They don't make the games directly for Nintendo, Xbox, Microsoft, PlayStation, but they have their games and they alter the code to make it available for those systems that are third party. Having those proprietary games is where the gaming war is really in play. Computer-based games, PCs, they have different elements which come to the game. They have more strict enforcement of rules, virtual gameplay, presentation of reality. PC gaming is a different realm. It's very powerful, amazing, but it can be very expensive too because personal computers are used for other things also. So you have your costs and your benefits about it. But you don't want it to be something to where it's in the way of your gaming. PC gaming is something that is great to have at times, but it's definitely something that it kind of gets in the way because personal computers are so expensive, and they are used for other elements in development too. This is the Atari 2600. It's showing a very cool game called Asteroids. You're this little space shuttle, spaceship. You're in the center, and you're able to move left, right, all these different degrees. and you have unlimited ammo to destroy the asteroids for some reason. We don't know why we're destroying them, we just know that they have to be destroyed. There isn't really a story behind it. You just press start, and all of a sudden, you have these asteroids coming, and you move around your joystick, and you press the big red button in order to shoot. Very simple, a lot easier than what we have today, where we have 10 different buttons doing 8 different things. And the difference was, we just assumed that we have to destroy the asteroids. Maybe it's because it's coming to Earth, maybe it's because they're attacking our homeland. We don't know. The difference is, here in Generation 2, there wasn't really a storyline, there wasn't really a reason. We knew we had to do it. Nowadays, in starting Generation 4 and beyond, you're more immersed, you're more involved, you felt a reason why you wanted to make a difference, to make it happen. Such as these games here on the Xbox, we have Halo right there on the right. And you notice the game console, the game controller difference. How I was talking about how carpal tunnel is being less of a problem. If you go back to the Atari one, it's just you holding it and you have a joystick. Well, that joystick had a lot of pressure against it, and they broke. Fairly simple. Here we have with the Xbox controller, it's more involved, it's easier to hold on to. And notice the complexity of all the buttons. The ESRB is the game rating system software, the rating system that we have. It's involved with the type of or level of game that we should be able to use as a young adult, as a teenager, as an older person. Mostly to prevent younger children from being involved with violence or destroying, which makes perfect sense. Also, different types of learning games are involved with that, to where everybody can be using them versus gaming meant for a certain age and higher. So the ESRB, they have symbols and content. Now, just to review, we talked about different motor skills, we talked about different cognitive development and reflexes and hand-eye coordination. There was some terminology with computing, decentralization, immersion, and there was the evolution of the generations from Generation 1 through 7 and beyond, which now we're in 8 higher. Okay? So, a lot of important information I want you guys to recognize. All right? Everything is the evolution of what we have had in the past up to now. The gaming generations 1 through 8. The concept of video games aren't fun or they are just a waste of time is not true. There's a lot of people that network through video games, that communicate with each other through video games. Have that niche, have that realm, have that idea that, oh, I didn't know you knew about that. Let's talk about it. Oh, I just made a friend. That is something that is missing when it comes to the idea of what video games are about. Right? Hand-eye coordination, brain extremities, reflexes, problem solving. We do that all the time. And it will never go away as long as we keep exercising our brain. Our brain will keep going. Our body starts to fall apart. Using your brain is going to be a more productive career than athletics. I have no problem with athletics, but the body falls apart before the brain does.